When I was 14, I knew I wanted to be a doctor. But the only idea of college that I really had, because I was the first one to go, was, oh, you go to whatever school wants to give you a scholarship and you go play basketball. College is super expensive, and I knew my family couldn't afford to take me to college. Basketball just like focused me and like shifted my mindset to a different goal than people that I grew up with. All right, so here's my white coat ceremony, and that's my little sister and my little brother, and then my mom's in the middle. This is Christmas, the first Christmas after my brother passed away. He was murdered the June before I started medical school. Throughout my life, I went to public schools, and they never really prepared me for the next level. College was hard. I was not prepared for the workload at all. But coming into medical school, I'm like, all I have to do is pass. If I pass on my tests, I know I'll be a doctor. So this year, I will be applying to radiology for residency. I'm still working on finishing up my personal statement. I'm struggling right now. Like, what picture do I choose? Like, being conscious of, oh, if I wear my curly afro, is that gonna prevent me from a school, like, looking at that picture, be like, oh, maybe we shouldn't interview this person. I don't want, like, my hair to be something that would stop me from getting interviews. A lot of people that look like me are the nurses in the hospital. Even now, like if I'm on rotations, like I'll get, oh, my nurse said this, this, and this after they had a conversation with me. Like, we're not expected to be the doctors.
Well, thank you both very much for making time today and coming on, especially you, Shauna, because I just was, as I was watching, I just thought, as much when I do these types of conversations with the filmmaker, no matter how much we kind of, get into the topic, uh, it's not quite the same as bringing somebody actually on who's embedded, who's been like, inside of the story, looking out, as opposed to a filmmaker sometimes who is looking in, even though you really embedded yourself with these guys, right, Asako? For
Yeah. I mean, I met Shauna when she was a third-year student, just halfway through her rotations, and I knew right away that if we were going to get to do the film there, which we were still trying to put together, I knew I wanted her to be part of it because she was so amazing. Just her energy, her smile, her presence, her obvious, extreme competence and intelligence. It was just like, wow, this is the kind of person I want to see become a doctor. So, it was great when we were able to actually do the film that she agreed to be part of it.
Well,
yeah,
thank you.
I mean, doing a film about such an remarkably intense period of time in somebody's life. I mean, everybody wants to be in the movies, but you know, when you have when you know that the amount of workload that you have, and this is what I get from the film. I mean, I'm not, that you'll never keep up with it. Like, you'll do your best. You'll digest as much as you can, but you'll never actually get nearly as much done because you also have life. You have to figure out so many things and take care of so many things. So, and then the idea of actually being involved in a film project.
I'm sure we
Shauna,
were a
did you?
pain in the neck for all of the students, but a lot went on in Shauna's life at that time because not only did she apply for residencies, get in one of the top residencies in her choice of field in the country, and then she also got engaged, if I could say that. A lot of things happened in her life. Moved out of New York City. I mean, a lot happened.
Wow,
That is
that
very
is a.
much true.
So, what was your thinking, Shauna? Did you? What were you? when you were asked to be involved in this document, and I have to let me take a baby step backward because um, I just want to make sure people understand what this documentary, which is called The Calling, a medical school journey, which is premiering. We're talking on a Friday. It's premiering Monday on PBS on Monday, March 17th. Excuse me. And the film essentially follows a group of different students at different phases of their medical school career, at specifically though at Albert Einstein College of Medicine in the Bronx, the Bronx being a historically underserved area when it comes to healthcare. So we meet Shauna, who's one of those students, and how were you approached, and what was running through your mind? Like, were you concerned about being able to devote time and energy to a project like that while also succeeding in medical school?
I was initially approached, like she said, during my third year, and it was an email that was sent to me like, "Oh, we think that you'll be a good fit for this. Like, come chat with Asako." And I think it was another person there. I forgot the gentleman name. And they had us in this room, and it was like a big production when we went into the auditorium. So I didn't realize what I was getting myself into initially. I was like, "Oh, okay." And I just sat down, and the cameras basically wasn't there at that point because we were kind of having a conversation, and he was asking me about myself and my journey to becoming a medical student at the time. And it was a good time. We chatted. I talked about myself. They seemed pretty interested in me. And then I got the call back that said, "Oh, we're actually moving forward with this documentary."
Oh
And I
boy.
remember, I remember like, "Oh, okay, if we're
Yeah.
doing this." And a little hesitant at first because I'm like not one to be in the spotlight for anything. Like I like to be in the back, and I'm definitely more introverted and than my family is for sure. But
Right.
my boyfriend at the time, who's now my fiance, and he will be my husband soon. We're getting married April 4th, which is like
Congratulations.
21 days.
Oh my
Oh my God,
gosh.
But
congratulations.
it's so
So
soon, so
fantastic.
soon.
Asako and I will be
Thank you.
there. Asako and I will be there with my
With the
best.
camera set up and everything.
Yes. Yeah, right.
But he
Yeah.
was like, "When are you ever gonna have an opportunity to do something like this? And you should do it." And I'm not one to do something like halfway. So if I'm gonna do it, I felt like I needed to commit to it. So um, when they reached out to me about wanting to film and stuff like that, I always tried to make it happen, and try to get them as involved as they wanted to be. It wasn't always easy, but I think during my fourth year was a good time for it to happen because
Hmm.
that's the best year of medical school, honestly,
Yeah.
other
Right.
than the stress of matching. But you just have more elective time or free time to kind of do things that
Right.
you actually want to do.
If you've made it to your fourth year, you're in pretty good shape by then, right? Most of
Yeah.
probably, I'm going to guess statistically, the majority of dropouts is in the first year. It shrinks somewhat in the second year, and then even more in the third. But if you make it to your fourth year, you're pretty much going to graduate. I mean, it'd be
Yes.
unless the life intrudes in some other way, of course. But it's interesting how you self-identify yourself as somebody who's introverted, shy, soft spoken, and yet you're really charismatic on the screen, right, Asako? I mean, the smile and everything you said was wonderful.
Absolutely. And just the openness about,
Right.
talking about what it was like to be there when, when you look at medical schools, even Einstein, which, obviously we chose to focus on people from a very wide range of backgrounds, but, most people at medical school are still people who they have a parent or a family member who is already a doctor. They had access to private
Sure.
education, all kind of resources. And so to see someone who could succeed so well with coming from, public schools, not the same kinds of economic advantages. Nobody in her family had been a doctor or anything close. And it was just really inspiring, I thought, to see that with her sort of quiet confidence and just, obviously she was doing great in medical school and she's going to be a great doctor. I mean, she is a great doctor now. So it was
I
just
mean,
really
yeah,
exciting to be able to include that as one of the profiles because we knew that we wanted to show that, it makes a real difference, like who gets to become doctors and the barrier is so high.
Right.
and unfortunately
Absolutely.
only getting higher. And, we'll miss out if people like Shauna can't go to medical school and become our doctors and take care of us.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, there's also, it would be interesting to make another follow up documentary because, so many students obviously have the best of intentions, especially if they choose to s- go to a medical school like Albert Einstein, and the idea of serving the community there in that area of the city, and then you go into the real world, right? And how do you navigate that? Like your intentions and then the real world and all those pressures. And
For sure.
I know in Sean, in your case, you wanted to leave the city area, New York City. You had done your time in New York City, and
Absolutely.
you're looking for a change, right?
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
just even for your own sanity and your own experience, has that occurred? Do you feel now at home in North Carolina? Are you,
Um, Not at home, but definitely at peace, if that makes
okay?
sense. Like, I
It
don't know if
does.
this will be where I ultimately end up in the world, but it was definitely a nice change of pace. I feel like New York life is hard. Like even if you're not going through any of the things that I went through in my life, I feel like living in New York is already hard. Like you get up, if you have a car, you gotta go find your car a couple blocks away, get in the car, go through traffic, get to work, maybe
Right.
circle the block
Nothing is
again. It's just
smooth.
like nothing is easy. And if you're gonna take public transportation, whether it's delayed, I think nothing is really smooth in New York. It's like always a grind, and you're always like putting one foot in front of the other and going. And I feel like here I'm kind of just going with the flow. It's rarely traffic. I get up, get in the car, go drive to work. It takes the exact same amount of time every time I leave work. I park in a garage, a spot that's probably always going to be a spot, and I come into work and I work.
Mhm.
And I just think
Yeah.
the life outside of work is just so simple. Like I spend my time a lot of my time spent even on a couch just watching TV. I love sports. I watch sports all day. And then even that is just like so at peace with life. I don't feel like I have to worry about even sirens passing by or anything. I just feel like it's just so quiet and soft life.
You don't miss Pizza Rat, huh?
And honestly, that was a big reason I had to leave New York as well. Like my phobia of rats is
Oh,
actually unexplainable. And I was
I'm
one
sure.
rat encounter away from losing my mind.
I could
And then the
resist.
weather's nice. It's so nice. Like the whole first year of the winter, I didn't snow not once. Like New York City, the wind chilled, you open your door and you're just like
Yep.
pins and
Yellow
needles on your
snow.
face.
Yellow
Yellow
snow.
snow. The snow's actually white here. It snowed a couple times this winter. And then it's already spring now. It's like it was 78. Yeah, it was 76 yesterday. It's 68 today. It's
Now,
just
now she's just now she's just showing
well, I'm
off to
bragging
brag.
too much. I'm bragging a
Bragging.
little.
It's okay. You deserve to be able to brag. And well, and then in terms of the work you're doing, what are are you dealing directly with patients at this point?
So actually this rotation, I just started my interventional radiology rotation is definitely more patient facing.
Yeah.
A lot of what I'm doing is handling like the consult. So we get consults from the ED, patients on the floor for different procedures, interventional procedures. And then I go in, speak to the patient, see what's going on, speak to the team, and then we get consent forms for the patient and make sure they're teed up to go to their procedures. So this rotation is a much earlier start than typical radiology rotations that I'm usually on.
Hmm.
So this one we start rounds. It starts around 6:45, but I have to be in earlier to kind of set up the list and stuff around. And then I end at 6:30. But normally, like on a regular radiology rotation, it's not as much patient interaction. If you're doing procedures, you interact with patients for sure. But for the most part, we're like in a reading room, reading the studies for patients.
Well, it sounds like with Shauna particularly, she ended up being a big part of the making of this film. Again, it's called "The Calling a Medical School Journey," and also that she's a success story. I'm not saying you're guaranteed for every. It's not guaranteed. Nothing's ever guaranteed that life's going to be just rosy and there's going to be an absence of traffic for the rest of your life. But things went well
Yeah,
coming out of that program at Albert Einstein.
I will say that when, the other fourth year student that we followed, Alexandra, she was another one I connected with right away in the pre-interviews, and she luckily agreed. She's also a quiet person who's not taking the spotlight all the time. We had no idea, and neither did they, when they agreed that they would actually get both of them their top choice in residency. That was just a gift to us, that they were so great that they got exactly what they wanted. And what they wanted was different, but they both got their first choice, and that not everyone gets that. So we were
True.
just very lucky with that. And it was really amazing to see that. Like, by the time we had spent the year bothering them and pestering them and filming them and having them do this and that for us, to be there that match day when they each got there. I mean, I don't, this is like a spoiler if anyone's watching the film, but I mean, we were all crying, the crew.
Yeah, no, you mentioned how how what a gift it is that two of your the main subjects of this project both got into the residency of their choice, which is great for us watching the documentary course as a viewer. Also, though, just the fact that there is this dramatic you know day, right, and it's across the country, right, where you what is it called, matching day or match day, what is it called?
Match day, yep.
Match day. Like, who knew about that? But that's also just infrastructurally for a film, for a story you're building for. It's just a perfect kind of dramatic moment to have in a film. So, right.
Yeah, I mean, the one challenge was that I mean, I didn't know enough about what they do in individual years, so I was,
Right.
thrilled that both Alexandra and Shauna had accepted to be in the film. But then I realized they weren't doing, many things that we could follow. There were, they had done they had done all their rotations, they had done all the, really, really tough work of first, second, and third years. And so we realized that including these younger students, in a way, it sort of represents what they may have gone through, the
Sure.
struggling with the first, anatomy lab, the
Right.
first really, really hard tests and thinking like, wow, how different this is from college or high school. And that was, it was great because even though we couldn't sort of see an end to their journey yet, we could get a glimpse of what Shauna and Alex had gone through.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could have followed one student through 4 years, right? That would have been
Yeah.
insane for that student, let alone for you guys. But
Yes.
They would have really hated us by the end, but also,
forget it. Yeah,
documentary budgets are limited, so they would never have
sure,
let me do that. I mean, I would
no,
have
but
not have minded. I would have found that really interesting to do, but
sure,
nobody was
but
going to let me do that.
no one in the right mind. And then, but so we look at 1 year, and because there are 4 years of the medical school, we meet people in the different phases, which was a good way to go. Turns out.
Well, it gives you a little bit of an idea. Obviously, each student has a really unique path, and they're not going to end up in the same places, and they're not going to go through exactly the same things, but you get a sense, at least, of some of the steps that are necessary to get to that match day.
Sure, but the underlying, I guess, idea that you're trying to get across is, or maybe I should pose this question, like just the the problem with healthcare for like it's how horribly unfair it is, and what I mean, it's like the topic is one for a much longer podcast interview.
Definitely. And it's, we decided, obviously I did interview some faculty and some people who were involved with mentoring programs. In the end, I decided to just stay with the students because
Yeah,
it kind of allows you to see that without polemical arguments and the kind
well
of,
said.
polarizing stuff. At the same time, I'm a person who, I don't come from a privileged background, and I didn't have health insurance from when I left undergrad until I got married. So for 20 years, I had no health insurance. I didn't see a regular doctor. And, I think there's many, many people who are in my position that,
Oh
it's
my
just,
God, yeah.
as a freelance documentary maker, how are you going to get health insurance? So I think that the inequality of our system, is something that's a really important topic to me, but I felt that seeing the people who were coming in, seeing how aware they were because they came from different backgrounds, because they were in the Bronx while they were studying. I just felt like, having people who understand all of that as they enter the medical profession is really important. And it's also really important to see doctors from every kind of background because they bring their life experience and their own wisdom, their family's wisdom, and they bring that to the profession, and that could make it better. If you only let in people who've never experienced any kind of hardship and you give them a high-paying job as a doctor, and how are they going to understand the kind of patients that they're seeing? And so I think that was, without being like, I have my agenda that I want to show, but I felt that it was more effective to get it from just seeing the students themselves coming to understand these things and grapple with them each in their own way. That's why we also included the Echo Clinic, because the fact that even with after Obamacare was in place and so forth, there's still people who are unable to get insurance, and they come to that clinic because they're uninsured. And that's something that's still going on. I think it was eye-opening for the students who came from more privileged backgrounds. So it was a really important part of the education too.
Well, I'm going to recommend people check it out. It's the Calling a Medical School Journey is going to be on PBS, and I guess the streaming app. It'll be available on pbs.org. Everybody can see it. It's free.
That's right. It's free.
It's unlike Medicare, free for all.
It's free for all. And I'm also going to be showing the film. Not that anyone in your viewership can necessarily go, but I'm also showing the full-length version of the film at the Santiago Alvarez Memorial Film Festival in Santiago de Cuba, in Cuba.
Wow.
Yeah, so you'll be there too.
That's exciting, very exciting. What I saw, and I think it was under an hour and a half, was that the broadcast edit? Is that what I?
Yes, it is broadcast edit. The festival version, which Shauna was there for their premiere in DC, is
DC,
like 97 minutes. Yeah. So it's
Right.
just a little bit shorter, but we had to remove one student, which broke my heart. But
yeah, you had to excise.
I love them all.
You had to medically.
Had to surgically
remove a student. That's terrible. Shauna, how did you and your family think it came out? What was that like for you? And it must have been a little stressful for you, Asako, if you had a friends and family.
Funny enough, my family are mostly going to see it on the viewing on Monday.
Oh, wow. That's great, though.
So that's the big premiere for them. The couple times I saw it. I'm sure she'll let you know. But I'm sure she's excited about it and bragging about it. So I'm sure she will love it anyway. But my little sister went to the festival with me, so she did see it and she really enjoyed it. And then my fiance saw it with me when we had our own private screening. And I thought it was awkward for me to look at myself and see myself in my mannerisms on TV. I feel like I'm talking about some dark things, and it's just like I can't help, like I'm gonna smile when I'm talking about anything, and I just like, oh, that's kind of weird that I'm smiling talking about those things, but it's just the way I am.
I'd be transparent. That was a topic of conversation here at home when we were watching it. I watched it with my partner, and we understand the smile. It's in the end, it's a beautiful smile, so it works.
Thank you. Thank you. It's just the way, like, my natural state is just
yeah. Sure. Yeah. And it makes for better cinema than frowning the whole time. Let's face it.
Yep. Yeah, I'm super grateful, and I can't help but smile. Like I have everything I could ask for in life, and it's a joy.
All right. Well, Asako Gladsjo, and I'll edit. I'll just edit. Asako Gladsjo and Shauna Phinazee. Thank you both very much for coming on this podcast. I appreciate it very much.
All right. Thank
you.
Yeah. Have a great weekend.
You too.
See you, Asako.
See you, Shauna.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Nice meeting you.